Hi everybody, welcome to Live Blogger. I have combined all the videos in our testimonial page design series into this single long video so that it's easy for you to follow. Now in this video, we are basically going to create this page right here using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. And this is also completely responsive. So we'll see how to design all of this from scratch using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. And in the end, I will also show you how to add this design to your Blogger website. And I will also leave the link of the source code in the description of this video. Alright, so let's get started. So this is how it looks. We can see that we have this first section over here where we have the list of companies, and then we have the testimonials of the customers. And here we also have these videos of the customers, and we can play the videos over here. We can also make it full screen. And then here we have the actual review and the name of the person and the designation. And here we also have this button called Show More. So if I click on that, we can see that 2 more testimonials are displayed over here. And you can go ahead and play these videos as well. And then we have the Show More button once again. So let's click on that. And then we have the last testimonial displayed over here, and now we don't have the Show More button displayed. And then lastly, we can see that we have this section where we have the call to action. We can just click on this Try It button, and this is basically going to be a link, and you can add the link of any page over here. And this is also completely responsive. So if I decrease the width of the browser window, this is how it will look on a smaller screen. Here we can see that we have a different layout for the icons. So here we can see we have 2-column layout, and the font size also decreases. And here we have all these testimonials displayed one below the other. And here also we have the Show More button. And then lastly we have the call to action. So this is what we're going to design in this video. So let's get started. Alright, here I have created this folder called Testimonials page, and I just opened it with VS Code. Now here I also have this folder called Images, where we have all these images which we're going to use in our design. And I also have this folder called Videos, and these videos are going to be used in our testimonials. So let's go ahead and start by creating the necessary files. So let's click on New File, and let's create an HTML file. I'll just name it index.html. And let's create a CSS file. I'll just name it style.css. And we also need to have a JavaScript file. I'll just name it main.js. And let's start with the index.html file. So we can just press exclamation and press tab, and you'll have this basic HTML5 code. Let's link our CSS file over here. So I'll just type link and press tab. And here I'll just type style.css. And let's link our JavaScript file over here. So I'll just type main.js. So the first thing we will do is we'll create a container division, and let's give it a class of testimonials container. And in that we need to have sections for each of these different sections. So I'll just create a section tag. And in that, the first thing we need to have is this heading. So let's type h2, and here let's type trusted by. And then we need to have these logos. So for that, let's create a division with the class of logos container. And now let's add img tags for the logos. So let's type img, and in the src let's type images /. And here we have all these logos. So I'll just quickly go ahead and add all these logos. So we have Pinterest, Netflix, Amazon, Reddit, Spotify and HubSpot. So I'll just type Pinterest logo.png, and I'll just duplicate these 5 more times, and let's change these logos. So next we have Netflix, and then we have Amazon, and then we have Reddit, Spotify and HubSpot. And now let's open this in our browser and let's see how it looks. So I have this extension called Live Server installed in VS Code. So once you install this extension, you can just right click over here in the HTML and click on Open with Live Server. And now we can see that our elements in the HTML are displayed in the browser. Right, now let's move on to the next section, which is this section with the testimonials. So let's create a section tag. Now in this we need to have an h2, and let's type this heading. So I'll just copy this and I'll just paste it over here. And then we need to have all these testimonials. So I'll just create 2 testimonials over here. So I'll just create a division with a class of testimonials. Now in this, for each of the testimonials, we need to have a division with the class of testimonial. So I'll just tap testimonial. And in the testimonial, the first thing we need to have is this video. So I'll just create a division with the class of video. And in that we will have a video tag. And for the src, let's tap videos / and we have this video called testimonial1.mp4. And then after the video, we need to have the review. So I'll just copy this from here and let's paste it over here. I'll just give it a class of review, and let's paste the review over here. And then we need to have the name of the person. Now for the name, I'll just create a division with the class of name, and in that we will just copy this name. And then we need to have the designation, so I'll just copy this, and let's create a division with the class of designation, and let's paste it over here. Now we need to have 2 of these testimonials displayed in the beginning, so let's go ahead and copy this. So I'll just copy this testimonial division and I'll just paste it one more time, and I'll just change the details. So here for the video, let's change this to testimonial2.mp4, and then let's go ahead and copy this testimonial text, and I'll just paste it over here. And then we need to have the name and the designation. Right now, let's go outside this main division, which is the testimonials division, and let's create a button. So for the button, we need to have this text show more, and for the button, I'll just give it a class of show more button, and let's tap show more. And here we can see we have all these videos and the show more button. And then the last thing we need to have is this section right here. So let's create a section for that. I'll just create a section tag, and let's create an h2, and I'll just copy this h2 from here, and let's paste it over here. Now let's create a paragraph tag, and I'll just copy this text from here, and let's paste it over here. And then lastly, we need to have this button. So for that, we'll create an anchor tag, and let's give it a class of btn. And here let's type try it now. And with that, we have completed writing the HTML of our design. So let's go back to our web browser, and here we can see that all the elements are displayed over here. Now let's go to our CSS and let's start styling this. Now the first thing we will do is we will style this testimonials container. So let's tap dot testimonials container, and let's go ahead and give it a max width of 900 pixels. And let's set the margin to 24 pixels, and for left and right, let's tap auto, so it is in the center. And let's set the line height of all the text to 1.9, and let's also set the font family, and let's set it to Roboto and sans serif. Right now, let's give a basic padding to all the sections in general. So I'll just type testimonials container section, and let's give it a padding of 20 pixels top and bottom, and 0 for left and right. Right now, let's style the h2. So here we can see for all these headings we have h2. So here I'll just type testimonials container h2, and let's give it a font size of 40 pixels, and let's set the line height of the heading to 1.2. And for the headings, we will have a different font. So I'll just type font family, and let's set it to Poppins and sans serif. Now if you go back to the original design, here we can see that we also have these underlines for all these headings, except this one right here. So let's go ahead and add a before selector for this. So I'll just tap testimonials container h2 : before. And using the before selector, you can add extra information to the elements. So if I just tap content, and if I just tap 1, 2, 3, now we can see that 1, 2, 3 is displayed in front of all these headings. So let's go ahead and remove 1, 2, 3 from here, and we need to add a line, and this line should be positioned relative to this h2. So here for the h2, we need to type position relative, and here for the before selector, we need to type position absolute. And let's set the height of the element to 4 pixels, and let's set the width of the element to 60 pixels, and let's set a background color of red, and let's set the bottom position to -8 pixels, and I'll just set the left position to 0, and I think that's it with the underlines. Now for this last heading, we don't want to have the underline, so what we're going to do is we're going to add a class to the last section. So here for the last section, I'll just give it a class, and let's give it a class of dark because we have a dark background over here. So I'll just tap dark, and now let's set the styling for the h2 inside the dark section. So here I'll just tap section.dark h2. Let's target the before selector, so I'll just tap before, and here I'll just type height and let's set it to 0. And now we can see that the underline is not being displayed for the last section, but for all the other sections we have the underline. Right, now let's go ahead and style this logos section over here. So here we can see that we have 3 logos in a row. So let's go back and let's go to the HTML file, and for the logos we have this division with the class of logos container. So here let's type testimonials container logos container, and let's set the display to grid, and now we can see that all the logos are one below the other. Now we need to specify how many columns we need to have. So for that you can just type grid template columns, and I'll just set the repeat to 3, and we will have a width of 1 fr, which is 1 fractional unit. And now we can see that we have 3 elements in a row. Now let's also add a height to these images. So here we can see inside the logos container we have img tags. So here I'll just type testimonials container img, and let's set the height of the image to 30 pixels. Here I'll just specifically type logos container so that we don't have any problems later. And now we can see that we have the correct height for all these images. Now let's add some gap between these elements. So here in the logos container, let's set a gap of 32 pixels. And we'll also bring all these images to the center of each of the cells inside the grid. So for that you can just type place items, and let's set it to center. Right, now let's go ahead and add some padding. So here let's tap padding, and let's set the padding to 32 pixels, and let's also add a box shadow. So just tap box shadow, and let's set the values to 0, 4 pixels, 40 pixels, -8 pixels, RGBA, 0, 0, 0, and 0.1 for the opacity. And now we can see we have this box shadow. Right, now let's go ahead and style these testimonials. So the testimonials are inside this division with the class of testimonials, and in that we have these divisions with the class of testimonial for each of the testimonials. So let's go ahead and type testimonials, and let's set the display to grid, and let's set the grid template columns to 1 fr 1 fr because we need to have 2 columns with the same width, and let's also set a gap of 24 pixels. And now we can see that the testimonials are one next to the other, but these videos are too large. So let's set a height for these videos. Now the videos are inside this testimonial division. So let's type testimonial video, and let's set the height to 220 pixels. Now we need to have full width for these videos. So let's go back to the video tag, and here let's tap width, and let's set it to 100%, and let's do the same for this video as well. So I'll just have width of 100%. Right, now we need to specify the width of each of the testimonials. So here we can see we have these divisions with the class of testimonial. So here I'll just tap testimonial, and let's set the flex to 1 so that all of them have the same width. And now let's go ahead and set a padding. So let's set the padding to 16 pixels, and let's also add a box shadow for this. So I'll just tap box shadow, and let's set the values to 0, 4 pixels, 40 pixels, -8 pixels, RGBA, 0, 0, 0 and 0.2. Right now, if you go back to the original design, here we can see we also have these controls for the video. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go back to our HTML file, and here for the videos we need to add an attribute called controls, and let's do the same for this video as well. So just type controls, and now we can see we have the controls for the videos. Now here we can see even for the video we have this padding, but in the original design for the videos we don't have the padding. So let's go back and let's go to the style.css file, and here we can see we have added a padding to the container division, which is testimonial. So we need to target the video. So the videos are inside the division with the class of video. So I'll just target that. I'll just type testimonial video, and here we need to add a negative margin. So I'll just type margin minus, and we need to add a negative margin of 16 pixels because we have added a padding of 16 over here. So let's type 16 pixels, and now we can see we don't have any padding for the videos. Now since we added this margin, we can see that even for the bottom we have a margin of negative value. So I'll just type margin bottom, and I'll just reset it back to 0, and now it looks alright. Now if you go back to the original design, here we can see that for the testimonial text we don't have much text, we just have a text of one line. But here this name and designation has moved down to match with this name and designation over here. So let's go ahead and do that. So for that, let's go back to our HTML file, and I'll just wrap both these elements inside a division, and I'll just call it bottom. And let's do the same for this one right here. So just type bottom, and now let's go ahead and target this division right here. So just type testimonial bottom, and we need to push it to the bottom. So for that we need to set the display of this testimonial to flex. So here let's type display of flex, and we also need to have a flex direction. So let's type flex direction, and let's set it to column. Now here for the bottom division we need to type margin top and set it to auto, and now we can see that the name and the designation has moved down. Now let's target these elements. So let's target the name, and for the name we have this division with the class of name. So let's type testimonial name, and let's set the font weight to bold, and let's set the font size to 18 pixels, and we'll set the line height to 1.2, and let's set a margin top of 20 pixels. Now let's style this designation. So for the designation we have this division with the class of designation. So here I'll just type testimonial designation, and let's set the font size to 14 pixels, and let's set the opacity to 0.8. And I think that's it with the testimonials. Now let's go ahead and style this button. So for the button we have a button tag. So let's type testimonials container button, and we also have this button for this last section over here. So we have an anchor tag with a class of btn. So let's target that as well. I'll just type testimonials container a.btn, and let's go ahead and set a padding of 8 pixels top and bottom and 32 pixels left and right, and let's set the border to none, and let's set a margin of 24 pixels top and bottom and 0 for left and right, and let's set the font size to 16 pixels, and let's set the background color to 003049, and let's set the color of the text to white, and let's set the cursor to pointer. Now for the other button we need to have some different styling, so let's target that differently. So I'll just copy this and I'll just paste it down here, and here first of all let's remove the underline. So I'll just type text decoration and set it to none, and for this button we need to have a different background color. So I'll just type background of E63946, and we need to increase the font size. So I'll just type font size, and let's set it to 30 pixels, and let's set the text transform to uppercase, and let's set the font weight to bold, I think we can decrease the font size a little bit, so I'll just set it to 24 pixels, and that looks alright. Right now let's style the last section. So here we can see we have a section with a class of dark. So here just tap section dark, and let's set the background color to this dark color right here, and let's set the color of all the text to white, and let's add a padding, and I'll just set it to 24 pixels top and bottom and 32 pixels left and right, and let's text align everything to the center, and let's add a little bit of margin top. So I'll just tap margin top, and let's set it to 24 pixels. Right now for this paragraph, let's just decrease the margin a little bit. So I'll just type section dark, and we have a P tag over here. So let's tap P, and let's set the margin top to -16 pixels. And I think for the button, the padding top and padding bottom are not being added. So that's because this button is an anchor tag and it is an inline element by default. So we need to type display of inline block. And now we can see that the padding is being added, and let's also decrease the padding a little bit. So just have padding, and let's set it to, here we have 8 pixels, so let's set it to 4 pixels over here, and 32 pixels. And I think that looks alright. So with that, we have completed designing the desktop version of this testimonials page. Now let's also make it responsive. So let's decrease the width of the browser window, and here let's add a media query. So let's tap at media, and let's set the max width to 800 pixels. So whenever the width of the browser window is less than 800 pixels, all the CSS in this block will be added to our design. So the first thing we will do is we'll just decrease the font size of these. So let's type testimonials container h2, and let's set the font size to 28 pixels. Right now these testimonials should be one below the other. So for that, let's target the container division. So let's tap testimonials, and let's set the grid template columns to just 1 FR. And let's also set the height of the videos. So here we have this selector testimonial video. So I'll just copy this, and let's paste it down here, and let's type height, and let's set it to 100%. And I think we need to have some gap between this video and this text. So both of them are inside this division with the class of testimonial. So let's type testimonial, and we had already set a display of flex for that. So here we can see we have set a display of flex. So here let's type gap, and let's set the gap to, let's try 16 pixels, and I think we can decrease it a little bit. So let's tap 12 pixels, and I think that looks alright. Now I think we can decrease the margin top of this button. So I think we can do this for the desktop version as well. So I'll just add the styles over here. So for this ABTN, let's tap margin top, and let's try 0, and I think we can increase it a little bit. So let's try 8 pixels, and I think that looks alright. And in smaller screens it looks like this. Right now let's also style these icons. So we need to have just 2 columns. So let's scroll up, and we have this selector logos container. So let's copy this, and let's paste it down here. And here let's type grid template columns, and I'll just set it to repeat of 2 with 1 FR. And we'll also set the gap to 60 pixels. And I think that looks alright. So we have designed the mobile version as well. Now in this video we will add some JavaScript, and we will add the functionality to display more testimonials when we click on the show more button. So right now if I click on the show more button, nothing happens. But if you go to the original design, and if I click on this show more button, we can see that more testimonials are displayed over here. So let's go ahead and add this functionality in this video. So let's get started. Right here I am in the source code. So let's go to the HTML file, and let's scroll down. And here we can see that we have already linked our main.js file. Now what we're going to do is we're going to display these testimonials dynamically using JavaScript. So we need to remove these testimonials from the HTML, and we need to write the code to display it using JavaScript. So let's go to our main.js file, and first of all let's create an array of objects. So we can just name it data, and let's create an array. Now in this we will have several objects. So in the objects we need to have these details. So the first thing we need to have is the video URL. So let's type video URL, and here you can add the video URL. And the next thing we need to have is the review. So let's type review. You can name these keys anything you want. And the next thing we need to have is the name of the person. So here I'll just type name. And then the last thing we need to have is the designation. So let's type designation over here. Now here we can add the details. So if you go to the first testimonial, we can just add the video URL of this over here. So I'll just copy this and I'll just paste it over here. And then we need to have the review. So let's copy this text from here and let's paste it over here inside the review. And the next thing we need to have is the name. So let's copy this name from here and let's go ahead and paste it over here. And then lastly we need to have the designation. So I'll just copy this designation from here and let's paste it over here. Now in this way you need to create all the objects for your testimonials. So I'll just go ahead and quickly do that. I'll just create the object for the second testimonial, and I'll also create some more testimonials. Alright, so here I have created all these objects, and we have the details of all the testimonials over here. Alright, now let's write the JavaScript code to display the testimonials. So let's go ahead and create a function for that. So I'll just create a function called showTestimonial. And in this function we need to display the testimonials. So first of all let's go ahead and create a variable for that. And we'll create a variable for the index of the testimonials. So here if you go to our design, we can see that we have two testimonials displayed at a time. So we need to limit the number of testimonials to 2. So let's create a variable over here, and I'll just call it latest testimonial index. And by default we'll just set it to 0. Alright, now let's create a for loop to loop through each of these items inside this array. And we will start from the value of latest testimonial index, and we will loop through 2 of the testimonials. So first of all I'll just store this value inside a variable. So I'll just create a variable called index, and I'll just set it to latest testimonial index. And now let's create a for loop. So I'll just type for let I equals, and I'll just set it to index. So we'll start from the value of index. So right now it is 0. And we will go till I is less than index plus 2, because we want to display 2 testimonials. And then let's type I++, we need to increment by 1. Now we are looping through all the data inside this data array, and after a point of time we will have no data left. So for that we will create an if condition. So let's type if, and here let's type exclamation data I. So we will check whether the current data is available, and if it is not available then we'll just return. So we'll just return out of this for loop. Now before returning we'll also hide the show more button. So let's go to the HTML file, and for the show more button we have this button with a class of show more button. So I'll just reference that over here. Let's type const show more btn equals document.querySelector. And let's type testimonials container show more btn, and here we just need to type show more btn dot style dot display, and we'll just set the display to none. Now if we have the data, then we need to populate the testimonials division. So let's go to our index.html file, and let's see what is the parent division. So we have this division with the class of testimonials, and in that we have these different divisions for the testimonials. So let's target this testimonials division. So here I'll just type const testimonials equals document.querySelector testimonials. Now what we need to do is we need to generate the HTML for the testimonials, and we need to add it to this testimonials division. So let's type testimonials dot inner HTML, and let's type plus equals, and now here we need to add the HTML. So I'll just create a function for that, and I'll just call it generate testimonial. Now in this function we'll just pass some values. So the first thing we will pass is the video URL. So for that we have to type data, which is the name of the array, and then we have to give the index, which is I. So we are looping through all the elements inside this array. This I variable will contain all the index. So let's type data I dot and video URL, and the next thing we need to pass is the review. So let's type data I dot review, and then let's type data I dot name, and then lastly we need to type data I dot designation. And then we also need to increment the latest testimonial index. So here let's type latest testimonial index plus plus, so this will increment it by 1. Right now let's create this function called generate testimonial. So here I'll just create a function called generate testimonial. Now here we need to get all these values, so I'll just call them video URL, review, name, designation. Now you can name these anything you want. Right now let's create the HTML code. So I'll just create a constant called HTML code, and we will add backticks over here. And then lastly we need to return this HTML code. So I'll just type return HTML code. Right now let's go ahead and add the HTML code. So let's go to our HTML file, and this is the HTML code. So this division right here with the class of testimonial. So just copy this division from here, and I'll just paste it over here inside this HTML code constant. And let's go back to our HTML file, and I'll just delete these two testimonial divisions. We'll be generating them using JavaScript. Right, so now here we can see we have this empty testimonials division. So let's go to our main.js file, and now let's replace all these values with these variables. So in the src we need to add the video URL. So I'll just delete this from here, and to add a variable you have to type $symbol curly braces, and here you have to type the variable name. So I'll just type video URL, and the next thing we need to add is the review. So I'll just delete this from here, and let's type $symbol curly braces review, and then we need to have the name. So I'll just delete this from here. Let's type $symbol curly braces name, and then lastly we need to have the designation. So here I'll just type $symbol curly braces designation. Right now let's go back to our design, and now we can see that we don't have the testimonials displayed over here. So now let's go back to our JavaScript file, and let's call this function called show testimonial. So here I'll just type show testimonial, and now let's go back to our design, and now we can see that two of the testimonials are displayed over here. Now the last thing we need to do is we need to add an event listener to this show more button, and we need to call this function. So here we have already referenced the show more button. So here I'll just add an event listener. So I'll just type show more btn.add event listener, and let's listen for the click event. And here we just need to call the show testimonial function. Now since we are just doing this task of calling this function in this event listener, I'll just delete all of this from here, and we can just delete these lines of code, and this will call the function when we click on this show more button. So let's go back to our design, and let's see whether this works. So let's click on the show more button, and we can see that two more testimonials are displayed over here. And let's click on the show more button once again, and we have the last testimonial displayed over here, and the videos are also working alright. So now when the last testimonial is displayed, we don't have the show more button displayed anymore. So that's basically how you can add this functionality of show more testimonials in this design using JavaScript. Now you can go ahead and change these details in your JavaScript array over here. So if I just change this to, let's try Jake, Now we can see that the detail has changed over here. So in this way, you can make any changes over here. If you want to add more testimonials, you can just create a new object over here. And if you want to delete any of these, you can just delete one of these objects from here. So that's basically how you can create this testimonials page using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Right here, I'm in the dashboard of my Blogger website, and for the theme, I'm using this theme called Contemporite, which comes by default with Blogger. Now to add this testimonials page, let's create a new page in our Blogger website. So let's go over here to Pages, and let's click on New Page. And I'll just name the page Testimonials. And the next thing you need to do is change this into the HTML view. So by default, it'll be in the Compose view. So click on this button and click on HTML view. Now here you can add the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So first of all, let's add the CSS. I'll just create a style tag over here. And in this style tag, we will add the CSS. So let's go to our source code. And let's go to the style.css file, and let's copy all this CSS from here. And let's paste it over here inside the style tag. And the next thing we need to do is add the HTML. So let's go back to our source code. And let's go to the HTML file, and let's copy all this HTML from here. So we'll copy from this line of code till here. And let's paste it over here. And then lastly, we need to add the JavaScript. So I'll just create a script tag for that. And in the script tag, we will add the JavaScript. So let's go back to our source code. And let's go to the main.js file. And let's copy all this JavaScript from here. And let's paste it over here. Now if we go back to our code, here we can see that we have the video URL over here, and the review, the name, and the designation for all these testimonials. So you can go ahead and change the details over here in this JavaScript array. And if you go to the HTML file, here we can see that we have added these images for the logos. So you can change these logos to whatever you want. And then here we have the heading and the text for the show more button. So you can go ahead and change these to whatever you want. Right now, let's go back to our Blogger page, and we need to make some changes over here. So the first thing we need to do is we need to change the links of all these images over here. So right now, the images are inside images / and the image name, but we don't have this folder called images in our Blogger website. So we need to upload the image somewhere and then get the link and paste it over here. So I will use a service called Cloudinary for that. So you can just create a free account on cloudinary.com and log into the account and just go to media library. And here we can add our images and videos. Now to keep everything organized, let's go over here to folders, and let's create folders for the logos and the videos. So let's create a new folder over here. So I'll just click on new folder, and let's name it logos, and let's click on save. And here we have this logos folder. So let's go into the folder, and now let's go ahead and upload our logos over here. So let's click on upload and browse. Right here we have all the logos for our design. So I'll just select all of these, and let's click on open. And here we can see all the logos are being uploaded. Now we can see all the logos have been uploaded, and we can just go ahead and copy the link and paste it in our code. But before that, let's go ahead and also upload the videos. So let's go back to folders, and let's create a new folder called videos, and let's click on save. And now we can see that our videos folder has been created. So let's go into the folder, and let's click on upload and browse. And now here we can see these are all the videos that we need for our testimonials. So let's select all of these, and let's click on open. And here we can see all the videos are being uploaded. Right, so all the videos have been uploaded. So let's go ahead and copy the links and paste it into our code. So first of all, let's copy the links of these videos. So here we have testimonial 1. So I'll just copy the link of this video. You can just click on this button called copy URL. And now we can see it is copied. So let's go back to our Blogger page. And here let's go to this data array. And here instead of this video URL, I'll just paste the updated video URL. So I'll just cut this from here and paste the new URL. And let's do the same for all the other videos. So I'll just copy the second one from here. So this is the second one. And let's paste it over here for the second video. And let's do it for the third video. And let's copy the fourth video. And then lastly we have the fifth video. Alright, that's it with all the videos. Now let's go ahead and copy the links of these images. So let's go back to the main folder and let's go over here to logos and let's copy the links of all these logos. So I'll just copy Spotify logo, and here we have the Spotify logo. So I'll just update this, and I'll just quickly go ahead and do all of these. Alright, I have updated all the links, and let's go ahead and click on publish and confirm. And here we can see our page has been published. Let's click on view. And here we can see that everything is being displayed over here. And let's click on this video. And the video is also being played. So we don't have any problems. Let's click on show more. And we can see that more videos are being shown. And here we have the last testimonial. And then lastly we have this section right here. Let's also check whether this is responsive. So I'll just decrease the width of the browser window. And we can see that it is completely responsive. So we don't have any problems in this. Now the only thing we need to fix is the color of this text. So for that, let's go back to our page. And let's go to the CSS. And here I'll just type color, and I'll just set the color of all the text to black. And let's click on update. And let's go back to our page and let's refresh this page. And now we can see we don't have any problems and everything looks alright. So that's basically how you can add a custom testimonials page to your Blogger website. Alright, so that's basically it for this video. If you have any doubts, you can ask in the comments below. And if you like this video, please click on the like button and subscribe to this channel to get the latest video updates. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a nice day.